Warren, I have a question for you. On Sunday, on Meet the Press, Vice President Biden accused Senator Sanders' supporters of bullying union leaders here with, quote, vicious, malicious, misogynistic things. You said Democrats cannot build an inclusive party on a foundation of hate. Are Senator Sanders and his supporters making it harder for Democrats to unify in November?
Look, I have said many times before, we are all responsible for our supporters, and we need to step up. That's what leadership is all about. But the way we are going to lead this country and beat Donald Trump is going to be with a candidate who has rock-solid values and who actually gets something done. When Mayor Bloomberg was busy blaming African Americans and Latinos for the housing crash of 2008, I was right here in Las Vegas, literally just a few blocks down the street, holding hearings on the banks that were taking away homes from millions of families. That's when I met Mr. Estrada, one of your neighbors. He came in to testify, and he said he thought he'd done everything right with Wells Fargo. But what had happened? They took away his house in a matter of weeks. This man stood there and cried while he talked about what it was like to tell his two little daughters that they might not be in their elementary school, that they might be living out of their van. I spent the next years making sure that would never happen again. Wall Street fought us every inch of the way on a consumer agency. They lost, and I won. We need a candidate with unshakable values and a candidate who can actually get something done for working people.
Thank you, Senator.
That's why I'm in this race,
Senator,
and that's how I'll beat Donald Trump.
Senator Sanders.
Okay, so the good thing is Elizabeth Warren didn't fall for that question. Instead of fighting or starting a new rift with Bernie, she instead chose to divert the question and point out what Michael Bloomberg has done or is responsible for, or Wall Street in general is responsible for, not just Michael Bloomberg in that specific scenario. But that being said, what she said, that the leaders should take responsibility for their supporters, it's kind of true. It's true. But if the leader is propagating a non-violent message and someone who support them are being violent, it's a different question than a leader who is propagating violence and their supporters are being violent. So in the first case, I was talking about Bernie. Obviously, he has locked down into the core of the issues, and he focuses on the issue. In the second example, it's Trump, who actually incite his base to be violent with his words, with his rhetoric. So there is a huge difference between different leaders. And I get it, like even as a leader, Bernie should take responsibility of the supporters, but he can do that only by propagating his message. To give you an example, back when India was fighting for its freedom from Britishers, Gandhi was for non-violent movement. And there were a lot of supporters of Gandhi who were being violent. And all Gandhi can do is like disavow them. He can't, what else could he do? He could stand for his principles, and he could just disown the people who doesn't follow his morals. And I watched this clip in the past, so I know where Bernie is heading with this. So I would just wait and let him make the case in the best possible way.
We have over 10.6 million people on Twitter, and 99.9% of them are decent human beings, are working people, are people who believe in justice, compassion, and love. And if there are a few people who make ugly remarks, who attack trade union leaders, I disown those people. They are not part of our movement. But let me also say, what I hope my friends up here will agree with, is that if you look at the Wild West of the internet, Talk to some of the African-American women on my campaign. Talk to Senator Nina Turner. Talk to others and find the vicious, racist, sexist attacks that are coming their way as well. So I would hope that all of us understand that we should do everything we possibly can to end the viciousness and ugliness on the internet. Our campaign is about issues. It's about fighting for the working families and the middle class. It is not about vicious attacks on other people.
Senator, when you say that you disown these attacks and you didn't personally direct them, I believe you.
Well, thank you.
But at a certain point, you got to ask yourself, why did this pattern arise? Why is it especially the case among your supporters?
I don't think it is especially the case, by the way.
That's just not true. Look,
well,
people know.
Pete, if you want to talk to some of the women on my campaign, what you will see is the most ugly, sexist, racist attacks that are, I won't even describe them here, they're so disgusting. And let me say something else about this, not being too paranoid. All of us remember 2016. And what we remember is efforts by Russians and others to try to interfere in our election and divide us up. I'm not saying that's happening, but it would not shock me. I saw some of those tweets regarding the Culinary Workers Union. I have a 30-year, 100% pro-union voting record. Do you think I would support, or anybody supports me, would be attacking union leaders? It's not thinkable.
But leadership is about what you draw out of people. It's about how you inspire people to act.
How you inspire people? That's dude, have you just heard what he said? You are such a child, and at some point I think, like, I won't be surprised if some of your friends are actually creating these bots to kind of attack your own campaign or, you know, other campaigns, because I can totally see, you know, some of the powerhouses behind your campaign do that. So the point is, Bernie just mentioned that he won't be surprised if these are bots, you know, used by other countries, or could be by your campaign, or could be anyone for that matter, right? Who can create these bots and this narrative of being vicious from Bernie Sanders' campaign. And how would you mitigate that? Like, are you even getting what you're saying, or are you even listening to begin with? I mean, I don't know how you're going to be a leader if you can't even listen and understand what Bernie just said, or anyone is, you know, just say you have to be a good listener to become a good leader.
And right now we're in this toxic political environment. Leadership isn't just about policy. I think, at least in broad terms, we're largely pulling in the same direction on policy. But leadership is also about how you motivate people to treat other people. And I think you have to accept some responsibility and ask yourself what it is about your campaign in particular that seems to be motivating this behavior more than others. Because in order to turn the page,
I have an idea. I have an idea of how we can stop sexism on the internet. We could nominate a woman for candidate for President of the United States. I think that might go a long way if we showed our stuff as a party. And the other thing I want to talk about is really what is at the...
You idiot. So back in 2016, who was a nominee from Democratic Party? Was she a he? You idiot. Amy, I know, like, you know, she always make this cheesy statement. Oh, let's nominate a woman. Let's nominate a Midwest. No. What do you stand for? Why are you the best candidate to become a president? Make your case. Just don't play your identity card.
Core of this issue between Senator Sanders and the Culinary Union. And that is this. These are hardworking people, housekeepers like Elizabeth and I met with last night, who have health care plans that have been negotiated over time, sweat and blood. And that is the truth for so many Americans right now.
Thank you.
There are 149 million Americans that would lose their current health insurance under Senator Sanders' bill. That's what it says on page 8, and I don't think we should forget that.
On that note,
Okay, they are not losing insurance. They are getting replaced by a better insurance. It's clear, right? It's very obvious why they are creating this narrative that most of these people are gonna lose their insurance. No, they're gonna get a better insurance which will replace their existing insurance. And on top of that, this is not the only issue all the unions kind of negotiated with their bosses, right? In addition to healthcare, they also negotiated for better pay scale, I'm assuming, better treatment, I'm assuming, better time, work time, a better, I would say, overall security measures and whatnot, right? So they negotiated on so many different aspects. And now picture if they don't have to worry about healthcare at all, then they have more leverage. Then they can negotiate for even higher pay instead of like their pay eaten away for the healthcare. I think they all know this, but at this point they are just playing their political card. They just want these companies who have funded them and who has motives to run these insurance policies and whatnot. They are in some sense using these candidates as puppet to kind of make these points. If you lay it down on paper and still, if any of these candidates cannot understand genuinely, then they are not even fit to run as a president.